Yo! Welcome back to One More Mana. My name is Derek, and today we're getting into kind of like a mini deck tech light. I'll get into why in a second. But it is for the deck that I played on Shuffle Up and Play by Lady Orca Firebreathing deck. I love this deck. It is super flavorful, super fun, and very cheap. So if you're interested in it, you might want some cards in it. You might want to build the whole deck. You might want to get that flame throwing stank breath just glory on your battlefield, then head on over to TCG Player. TCG Player is phenomenal. If you're like me and are super particular about the printing, I need that right set symbol, the right border, I need the right foiling, all that. TCG Player is going to have what you're looking for. And if you use the affiliate link down in the description below, you can help support the channel in the process. We always do appreciate all the help. And then speaking of supporting the channel, check out Into the AM, this beautiful comfy shirt I'm wearing right now. And look, I might not be the biggest fashion icon. You might see me and be like, Derek, we don't want to look like you, but you know who is a fashion icon? Kennethy himself, Ken. And as before, he's prepared a statement. He's prepared another statement to talk about what you should wear into the AM. Hello, this is Ken, a 100% Ken. Now, if I sound a little different, it's definitely just the microphone. Super, this is 100% Ken. I don't know why you would doubt that, but 100% me. Now, I am an expert on making my opponents uncomfortable by playing lands upside down, tapping mana in the wrong direction. Maybe I play my lands in front sometimes. I play double-sided cards in clear sleeves. Every card in my deck's a different direction. I am an expert, but I am also an expert in comfort. And when I want comfort, I rock into the AM. Would you look at that? Listen to the man himself. Get yourself some Into the AM. Use the affiliate link down in the description below to help support the channel, and use our Mana Squad code. Go ahead and get a discount as well. We always appreciate all the support. Now let's just jump into this Lady Orca deck and why I love it, what the flavor behind it is, why I chose it, all those goodies. So I actually recorded a full-on deck tech for this deck. Came in like 25 minutes, was editing it, and I realized I had said the same thing so many times that nobody was going to want to hear that whole thing. The deck is so simple. I feel like this kind of mini deck tech preview is going to be more than sufficient to talk about how the deck runs, why the deck exists, and how to build it. And obviously, I'll include the full deck list as well. So you get the full effect without having to sit through 20 minutes of me saying the same thing, which, as anybody in my life can attest to, that is a blessing I just gave you from cutting all that out and trying to cut this down to a shorter, more succinct experience. The other thing is that I really want to focus on before even getting into, because going through the categories for this deck tech and game winning step included is a very quick process, very redundant, very few categories really trying to hit. But the most important thing to me is the flavor, because when I heard that there was a jank off, I got really excited. I love jank offs, one of my favorite activities. And then I found out that the prof meant with like janky cards, so I had to take a quick like left turn, reevaluate, but I was still good, still an expert in this type of jank as well. I was ready to go, and I knew that I wanted to play something just as weird as possible. Like, I think with some people think budget decks, they try to think about like building the most powerful deck within a certain constraint, like dollar-wise or something like that. In my mind, I wanted to do some weird shit that I wouldn't do otherwise for any other reason. So I was trying to see what mood I was in, honestly. Like, I feel like some days I'm in like a mono blue mood where I'm just telling everybody no, or like some days I'm in a green mood where I just want to cheat and take the easy route, or sometimes I'm feeling in a red mood where I just want pure chaos. And I was kind of in a chaosy mood, and I decided Rakdos was what I wanted. So what I decided to do was go onto EDHREC, shout out to EDHREC, and just organize by the least popular commander. So I just scrolled all the way down, found the least played Rakdos commander of all time, and voila, the beautiful Lady Orca was sitting there staring at me. And it's pretty obvious why. She's the least popular one, a 7-mana 7/4 with no abilities, but some pretty ass art, which is what mattered to me. So I was like, you know what, let's make this work. So I went to the flavor text. Now, one thing about me is I'm not really a fan of poetry. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves is actually slam poetry. Fun fact, I cannot stand slam poetry. But like, for all the poets and people out there, like, I have nothing against you. I realize it's just my lack of creativity enabled my ability to see past words. But either way, really don't like slam poetry, and like poetry in general just hurts my brain. Not a huge fan. So if this has some sort of like poetic meaning in the flavor text, like, yeah, that went over my head. Whoops, I missed that. So that was a possibility that I just, no. There's the other possibility that maybe Lady Orca just has some really stank ass breath, and that was like the hot fire, the hot breath she was breathing. Maybe she just needs a Tic Tac or some Altoids or some shit like that, and that's the case. But I thought flavor wise that would be really hard to build around, like stank breath. Ooh, that is an idea. Stank breath tribal coming soon, but for at the time, it felt like too much work. Didn't think I could do it. The other possibility was that she just spits that hot fire like mixtape wise, like Lady Orca's a rapper, and that can kind of shouted this out on the episode, and maybe that's the case too. Like, I could do just like a like a DJ tribal deck where everybody's just spitting that hot fire and like mixing beats and shit. That's what the kids say, I think. So yeah, that was the other possibility, and again, was very hard. There's already a music deck, and is it? I figured it was already too done, and like, who wants that? So the other possibility was that she literally breathed hot fire, and that's what I wanted to go with. I wanted fire breathing. So not only did I want the deck to basically, the whole purpose is to either give Lady Orca fire breathing or play a fire breather and pump as much red mana into them as possible. I wanted the entire deck to feel flamey. So basically all of the card advantage is incredibly red in that it's that impulsive draw where it's essentially like the cards are on fire and sizzling away. At least that's how I saw it. So I wanted to decide almost entirely for impulsive card draw to be just super hot fire everywhere. Like that's what I was seeing the deck doing, and that's how I really felt I needed the flavor to go. So the deck is incredibly straightforward. Ramp, get a fire breather out or give Lady Orca fire breathing, and then just turn sideways and see how much damage you can get in. I say this with a lot of decks, but especially this one. If you're trying to like win and like beat up on your friends, don't build this. It's probably not going to be for you. But if you were trying to have just play like a game within a game and kind of achievement unlocked and swing for lethal commander damage with a Lady Orca, or swing for 20 with a Shivan Dragon and just live the dreams that you've had with your big dragony creatures, yeah, this deck's going to be for you. So let's jump into these categories and kind of just do a brief overview before we get into the game winning step of how this deck functions. So as we always do, starting with the creatures, what I found as a happy medium sort of is about 10 to 12 creatures with fire breathing. And if y'all aren't familiar, anything with fire breathing is essentially just any creature where you can pay red mana and pump mana into it to give it +1/+0. There's a lot of different variations of it, but a lot of creatures have this, and just 10 to 12 is the happy medium, because if you go too high, you end up with all fire breathing creatures, and you don't want to just keep casting more. You only want 1, maybe 2, so you can pump mana, but you don't want to not have any, because if you have a bunch of ramp spells in this deck with no fire breathing, there's not really other mana sinks to use, and it's a bit of a feels bad. So I found that to be the happy spot with creatures. And then when you combine that with the enchantments and everything for your commander, you always have access to a fire breather more or less and can get your game plan going. Outside of that, you got stuff like Iron Mirror and Sad Robot and Burnished Heart to go ahead and get your ramp package going and make sure you have access to that red mana. That's the tricky part of this deck, is it's essentially mono red splashing black barely. So anything that allows you to color fix is super important, because while we're very, very low on black mana symbols in the mana base, you always want at least 1 or 2 available so you can cast your commander or a couple of the important spells. You can kind of ignore the Vial Smasher in the creatures. I was just so far under budget when I built this deck and had a Vial Smasher sitting on my desk. I was like, ooh, I love her, and put her in. Now, moving past the creatures into the artifacts, we'll jump over to the artifacts, kind of go a little bit out of order. The artifacts are very, very straightforward, just straight up ramp. There's 13 artifacts, 12 of them are dedicated to ramp. These are huge, and especially ramp cards that create colored mana. It's become so easy to build budget mana bases nowadays, so you could literally just stuff it full of 2-3 mana rocks, so that way when you hit all mountains, you can still get access to black mana. The only non-ramp artifact in the deck is Hot Soup. I did not go very far in the direction of evasion. Wasn't trying to be that tricky. Basically have flyers and just hoping Lady Orca can swing through because someone's naked. But if you want to go higher in evasion with some Trailblazers boots, you can kind of sprinkle that into here. But I liked Hot Soup, figured it was a good time, threw it in there. But yeah, artifacts are going to be ramp, and specifically ramp that will let you color fix because of how heavily red we are both in cards and in our mana base. Now, jumping over to the sorceries now, the sorceries are interesting in the sense that this is a lot of our explosive ramp. So the stuff like Mana Geysers and Brass's Bounty and different effects that can either set up for a huge turn or give us actively a huge turn to just throw all the red mana we can get into it. And then a ton of impulsive draw effects like Ignite the Future, different things like that where you can just exile cards. I love Apex of Power, where you're just exiling cards off the top, super fiery, throwing a load of red mana into things. Makes me really happy, and really all the biggest impulsive draw effects and those big ramp effects are kind of in these sorceries. All super, super budget, super cheap. And you can kind of look through these to figure out which ones that you can pick and choose. If you want to go a little bit above budget and get better card advantage, these are a lot of the swaps you're going to make. Honestly, with explosive ramp, the best ones are pretty budget themselves, so I didn't really have to cut corners to get that big red ramp in the deck. Now, jumping into the instance, we don't have a ton of instant speed removal. I would say that's definitely where the deck struggles. I went all in on just my game plan. This deck does not have enough interaction straight up. I was just so dedicated that I wanted to hit someone with Lady Orca for 21 with fire breathing. That's all this deck is doing. So very low on interaction. So I would definitely recommend, especially if you're trying to make it quote unquote more competitive, throw a Chaos Warp or different things like that. Have some more interaction in the deck 100%. Very much a case of do as I say, not as I do, but I just went full in on, again, ramp and some battle tricks and stuff that we'll get to in the game winning step. But this would be the best spot to load up on more interaction if you wanted to go that direction. Now with the enchantments, this is where we put all the fire breathing enchantments. So we have a lot of stuff that can give Lady Orca fire breathing. I've kind of gone between like 5 to 6, I think. So between having the 10 to 12 creatures, the 5 to 6 enchantments for fire breathing, that's my happy medium, where basically every game I have access to either give fire breathing or have fire breathing without just only that's what I'm drawing, and it just this feels bad. There's so much impulsive draw too that it lets you sort through the different card types in the deck, whether it's the ramp part or the fire breathing part or the creature, whatever it is. The impulsive draw lets you get what you want when you want. We're never worried about having 7, 8, 9 cards in hand. We just need the right cards at the right time, and the impulsive draw really lets us do that. Now, land base is super budget, super basic. There's 20 mountains in this deck. Honestly, the best thing I think you could do budget-wise is maybe get down to maybe 2 swamps and put some better duels in the deck, but stay high on those mountains. We basically, ideally, every land that would produce black mana in this deck would also produce red mana. That would probably be the best case scenario, but you're going to want to lead heavily red, as this is essentially a mono red deck. But that's going to do it for the categories. Now let's jump into the best part of every deck. And in this case, the fieriest is the game-winning step. How are we going to win the game? And like I said, straightforward. We're trying to swing in, do damage with our fire breathers. We're just turning sideways. I guess if you wanted to get tricky, Teamer Battle Rage is the tricky part with the battle tricks. If you want to do some non-combat damage, you're still using the fire breathing, and you do things like Fling or Casual's Fury, different things like that can go ahead and just mix it up so you can get in non-combat damage, because outside of that, that's really all we have. So if they have fog effects and stuff, the Fling effects can help you work around it. But obviously, no matter how budget a deck is, I can't be complete without taking y'all on a trip to Phyrexia for this part of the game-winning step. And there are some Phyrexian goodness in this deck. I didn't go as far into it as I could. I didn't want to be mean. As much as I like killing Zed and Ken repeatedly with all of my decks, I still kind of love them. So didn't want to go full on an Infect, and I didn't want Prop to just kick me out and never talk to me again. So I kept it light for the first time. All gloves are coming off next time. So for the first time, all I did was I put Ogre Menial in the deck, which is essentially a red Infect Fire Breather. I could not do it. Like, it is a fire breathing Infect creature. I had to. The dream is to kill someone with this. I don't see it happen anytime soon. It's very hard to pull off. It's got no evasion. I didn't go high on evasion in the deck. Basically, someone needs to be butt-ass naked, but it is the dream. And the other one, you don't need much work to kill someone with this. It is Tainted Strike. Probably the most powerful card in the deck. Incredibly powerful. You can use it on your opponent's creatures, your own creatures. We have so many flyers. This is a card where you can actually kill someone. This deck is going to have trouble winning a lot of games, but with this and some of the fire breathing effects, if you get off to a good start, you can realistically take out an opponent before turn like 10, which for a deck on this budget and as flavorful it is, I think is a pretty good job. I'm excited about it. And yes, that will help complete the deck and bring you one step closer to Phyrexia. And that's going to do it for the deck tech. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. This is a really fun deck. I love it. I love the flavor. I'm wondering if y'all have built around any of the old Legends commanders. I love the Legends commanders, especially the old vanilla ones. They seem useless, but there's some stuff there. They got great flavor text, great art. I want to know if y'all have built around it. I've gone very heavy into building flavorful decks recently. You'll see in a few coming deck techs where there's so many broken cards that have been printed, and there's so much power creep, it feels like, that you can build an entirely flavorful deck and still have it be pretty powerful. So this might not be the best example of that, but you'll see some coming. So if you have any super flavorful builds on Legends commanders and an incredibly specific question, hit me up in the comments down below. As always, a huge shout out to the patrons. We love and appreciate y'all so much. Lots of exciting things to come. That Shuffle Up and Play is the first of a few things that we've been working on for a while now, so we appreciate y'all's patience. Thank you for sticking with us. It's a fun time right now. We got plenty to come. But until then, I will see y'all next time.